Okay, what we're working on tonight is unfortunately nighttime. I'm going to try and light this up as best as possible, but I work when I can, and unfortunately today it's nighttime and it's 0 degrees out. Anyway, this is a 2019 GMC Terrain all-wheel drive with electronic parking brake. And we're changing the rear, well, you can see the rear rotors and pads is what we're going to be changing. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your electronic parking brake is off, and then remove the negative battery cable. Negative battery cable. Do that before you take your parking brake off because it's, or after you take your parking brake off, because it's electronic and it will not turn off or activate if you don't have the battery plugged in. So take off the negative battery cable. Again, we've got the wheel off and jack stand underneath, as well as the jack still being under there. And so very first thing we're going to do is remove the electrical connector up top, and I'm going to try and move some light and stuff in better so you can see this. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a pain for me because I'm going to be trying to stay out of your light and out of the camera's way. So first thing we want to unhook is this electrical connector. See the little red prong there? Slightly push it up with a screwdriver and push back. And this clip should slip out. Oh, come on. There you go. It will slide all the way out and off. Make sure you don't lose it. Put that on top of my jack. And then there's a little pin on top, a little tab. Push that down. Slide the electrical connector off. Now we're going to take a 13mm socket and a 17mm wrench, open end, to take the caliper bolts off. So the 17 holds the inner bolt. It's not going to go on very far, but oh my God, how am I going to get in here so you guys can see this? I have to move you. Okay. So the 17 is to hold the bolt, and the 13 is for turning. It shouldn't be on there very tight. Okay, and same with the bottom. Can you see the bottom? You can't see the bottom. It's the exact same thing. Okay, we're going to take these two. Oops. That's not quite loose enough. You can use a 13mm wrench on this too. You don't need to need a socket, but it's just simpler. So I'm going to finish removing those two bolts and be back in a sec. Okay, so I've got the bolts loosened. Oh, you're focused on the bottom one. Bottom bolt. Top bolt. And now, how do I work around you? I'm going to slide the caliper up and off. Okay. And we are going to balance that there for a second so it doesn't go anywhere. This is a T. I believe it's a 30. Hold on a second. T30 Torx. And we're going to take these two screws, there's one here and one on the other side, and that is the electronic brake actuator. Whoa. Everything's a little precarious here tonight. See this one out there on the other side? We're going to take those two out. And you are going to need a long T30 Torx. And these aren't on there very tight. They're on there like 6 foot-pounds. So I will take those two screws out. I'll show you taking the first one out. I'm trying to work around this camera and the light, and it sucks. Sorry. Not complaining, just stating a fact. Okay, so that one and the one on the other side, we'll take those two out and back when that's done. Okay, so we've got the two, oops, why are you stuck? There we go. Those two screws loosened. You can pull those out. And gently pop your parking brake actuator off. And that's what it looks like inside. Oops. You see that? And it's not very heavy at all, so we can just pop this back up here out of our way. And now, I believe this is a 7 millimeter Allen key, and it will fit in here. Now they use different motors on different cars. It may or may not be a 7 mil for you. It might be a 5, it might be a 6. You might need a Torx. Just don't wreck those little teeth in there. And what you want to do, this should be able to be done by hand. This should be not very tight. You're going to turn clockwise, and that will release pressure. The brake motor turns it to turn the piston out. And clockwise sucks it in, counterclockwise pushes the piston out. When it goes to the end, it can go no more. Place this where it can't move. Now here you can use a C-clamp, a brake pad spreader, whatever. I'm going to use channel locks. I am not going to be prying on that top part there. Now on the metal part of the piston and the ear mount there, and it should gently push back in. The piston going in. You push it in until it's flush. And do not pry on this part. We're done here. So I'm going to hook this caliper where it can't fall. And now the pain in the ass of this, the entire, the biggest pain in the butt on this whole thing is the two mounting brackets for the caliper carrier. Oh, actually, we missed one step. Another T30 Torx. Remove this one. Hopefully that's not in very tight. And that holds the rotor on. Stay, camera, stop it. Just cooperate. 2 seconds, that's all I ask. Good. It's not tight. Put this in the pile with my assorted bolts and goodies I don't want to lose. And now the fun part. 18mm socket with an extension. You're probably going to need a cheater bar to get these off. They're on about 100 foot-pounds. Now the top one is not a big deal. That is, let me grab a light and show you. Okay. Right here. That's the top bolt. 18mm, loosen that one. The second bolt is down, where are we? Under here on the axle hub. Let me see if I can get under there and show you it. Getting some light. Can you see it in there? Right next to the drive axle. And there is, semi-conveniently, oh sorry, it's on, it's on this side. It's the exact same on this side. And there's a hole. Oh God, I'm blocking your light again. Let me move. What a pain in the butt, I'm sorry. Okay. Let me grab something to point with so I'm not in your way. See right there, that hole? That's where you stick your socket through. It goes through, and then the nut is in the back for the bottom of the carrier. And they're 18s, and they're a pain in the butt, and you don't want to watch me taking these out. It's going to take me about 15 minutes because they're on there like 60, 70 quarter turns. And that's about all you can get on there, is about a quarter turn each time. So you're going to loosen those two butts, the top and bottom, 18mm, and best to use a 6-sided socket because then you won't strip it, and we'll be back once those two are out. Okay, so there you can see my socket and cheater bar going through there onto the, onto the bolt. Right there on that's the bottom one. Top one's easy to access. That's not really a big deal. The bottom one's just a pain in the nuts. Anyway, let me take that off and be back. I'm just hoping you can see some of that. Oh, maybe not. Can't see any of it, can you? There, you can see it on there now. And here's the top bolts. Once loosened off, they are not a big deal, other than the fact that they are. I counted like 70 quarter turns, something like that, and then torquing. So they're long. Back with both those off. Okay, both bolts are undone. And you can see that the reason they're a little harder to turn is because they go through, and they're rusty on this side. There's no need to take them out of the holes they're mounted in. I'll show you the bottom anyway. A big beefy nut. Yeah, now I'm not gonna get it back in. Okay. And now we can pull the carrier off with the pads. Okay. And I'm gonna do this in the garage just because it's lighter. Okay, so now we're going to take out the old pads and prepare the carrier for the new ones. So first thing I'm going to do is take out the old pads. The outer one pushes in to come out. And these pads aren't that bad, but they're grooved up from where the rotors were. God, I'm trying to stay out of shadow, but it's impossible tonight, isn't it? And the inner one can go either way. So make note of which way the clip goes. The continual part goes on the top. We're replacing the clips because they came with our pads. So we're going to pull that clip off and then clean file here to show that you can use a file. A lot of times you'll have to flatten out these spots so that the clip goes over properly. I'm going to do this side as well. Okay, let me grab my brake clips. Okay, new clips. Which way was up? Well, you've got the open end, down. These just push right on. Both sides are the exact same. They just clip right in. If you didn't clean off the rust, these clips might not go in far enough, and then the pad would possibly stick. You don't want that. Okay. Hopefully we can see that. Now, next thing we're going to do is hold the rubber and turn and pull the pin out. And we're going to clean that off and use some synthetic brake grease inside the pinhole and on the pin. You don't want to load it up too much because you can hydro lock it in there, meaning you won't be able to push it all the way in. Push until it pops. Pops back around and holds the rubber. Don't get the two sides mixed up. This one has like a bushing in there because it is the, is that leading or trailing? Trailing edge, I guess. It would be, no, it is, yes, trailing edge. So all the force is pushing back onto this one. Uh-oh, am I running out of synthetic brake grease? Maybe. Up again. Turn to make sure they're nice and free. This next step is optional, but I recommend it. Tiny bit of same stuff, synthetic brake grease. And I'm just going to put that on the little channels where the brake pads are going to slide. Very small amount on both sides to allow the pads to move back and forth nice and freely. New pads. This one has the squealer, so this one will be on the side of the piston, which is this side. So piston side, round side up. Follow this curve, round, round, so this way. And it just slides down. Make sure the bottom springs, you kind of have to push down on them to get the ears past. I am really sorry about the light. Okay. Other one has to go in from the inside. Push in one side, push down on this spring to allow it to pull, push past. Let go of my glove. That usually happens. They don't like to stay in. They got a little bit of a spring force on them, so it pushes them out. Ah, God. You ever notice when it's cold, things do not go the way they're supposed to? The colder it is, the harder it is for stuff to work properly. Life just works that way. Try not to touch the pads because I may have a bit of grease on my fingers and I don't want it on the pads. God, get in there. And I know this is in shadow. I apologize. Let's see if I can get a bit more light on that. Stay in, you slippery bugger. Ah. There we go. Okay. So there's our finished caliper carrier, loaded and ready to go. Now we're just going to replace the rotor and back out into the evil pit of darkness. Lord. We already removed the retainer screw. Let's look at the inside part of it. Wow, that's nasty. I'm going to clean this. Oops. This up with a wire wheel where the rotor meets the hub, and we'll be back to put the new rotor on. That's it. Once the wheel starts moving, or the rotor and axle starts moving, that's tight enough. Now we're going to take the caliper carrier and put that on. Let me get you up in a spot where you can observe. Old recycling containers work good for some stuff. Okay. See if I can't zoom in on that a little bit. Now you're looking at the back of the carrier. So this, remember, it goes this way. The pins point inwards. And there's where the two bolts are going to go through to hold the caliper carrier on. And this is going to be torqued to about 92 to 95 foot-pounds. So I'm going to put this back on. All you do is slide it over the rotor. Line up the top bolt first, which is easiest. Get it started. Once you've got it going through by hand, then we can do, oh, we still have to put the motor back on. So now I'm going to attempt. There we go. Still have to reassemble the caliper and the electric parking brake, which takes 2 seconds. It's not a big deal. Okay, so let's bolt these up. Those are on by hand. I can move the pads in so it doesn't move. And I'm going to torque those up again to 90 foot-pounds. 95 foot-pounds back in a sec. Did you see that? Low power mode came on my phone, sorry. Back in a sec, 95 foot-pounds. Okay, we're on the home stretch. Grab our caliper. Make sure that's clean. And I am going to put a bit of grease along. There's a black seal in there, obviously, so water can't get in. And I'm covering that in synthetic grease. I'm going to take the electric parking brake motor. This is kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, get on there. You see this end is like a female end, so it goes in and has the little geared teeth, and that end has the geared teeth as well. So you're going to slide it on, slip it over, and you may have to rotate it back and forth a little bit to get the teeth to mesh up. You'll know when they do because it will push in there nice and easy. There we go. That went in nice and simple. Fairly. Stay. Where are my little bolts? My little friends. Okay. Line up. That's not perfectly lined up. I hope to hell I'm not in your way. I apologize if I am. Just takes a bit of a wiggle back and forth to get them to go in. There we go. One. Don't tighten the first side down too much yet until you get the second side in. So I'm going to put both these in, not bore you with the watching all this, and be back in a second. I'm just going to put the second one in. Okay, so anyway, we're just about done. Just tightening these bolts up, and you're not going to tighten the crap out of them. They're mounted to plastic. Plastic breaks when you torque the crap out of it. So 6 foot-pounds. Make sure the motor and the caliper housing are still flush. Come on out of there. You know you wanna. That's it. Okay. So we take our caliper. And, oops, which way are we here? want to kink the hose. And we're going to slide it over the pads at the same time. Push the pins back in so that it lines up. Okay, we're good. And bolt. Loctite blue thread locker, not red. On both bolts, tiny bit. You don't put a ton on. A drop is sufficient, especially since it costs $1 million. But no, you don't need a lot. Oops. Damn you. That's going in by hand. That's going in by hand. These will be tightened to approximately 20 foot-pounds. So around a spark plug, maybe a little tiny bit more than what you would tighten a spark plug to. If you have a feel for it, you have a feel for it. If not, use a torque wrench. Where's my 13 mil wrench? Socket. I have no clue. Oh, there it is. Now when you tighten these, once the pin starts to spin, lightly put the tip of your open-ended wrench over top of there, or it could just pinch it in there and you won't get it out. You'll have to loosen it all again. Don't put it all the way around that retainer nut, the pin nut. Okay. Spark plug tight. Same with the bottom one. I'm about 5% battery left, so back in 1 sec. Okay, final thing is the connector. Little squarey side up. Do you remember what you did with your red plastic holder? Ugh. Hopefully I do. See, it's got the little long finger in the middle that goes on the bottom. Don't force it. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, you're not putting it on right. Slide it over gently and locks into place. You'll see the little red pin in the middle come out. That noise was just because this retainer screw only holds, it only retains, it's not holding anything really on there. Once you get the lug nuts in, the lug nuts are going to push everything in tight and hold it all tight in there. So it was kind of on a bit of an angle, so it was rubbing against the pad. Not a big deal. Okay. So now what you're going to want to do is push your brake pedal a few times, hook up your negative battery cable, and engage your parking brake. If you've done everything correctly, we're all good. If you didn't, you missed something somewhere. Anyway, if this helps, please like, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down. Oh, you can't thumbs down. You can't dislike me anymore. Damn, what are my haters gonna do? Anyway, thumbs up it since that's all you can do, and leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Hope this helps someone. Give you a quick look at everything. Again, torques, the upper and lower, the big bolts are 95 foot-pounds. Oops, where am I pointing? They're up, it's up in there. That's the top one. The bottom one's down underneath. and then 20 for these two suckers. And these little guys on the electric brake, the electric motor casing there, they're like 6 foot-pounds, which is almost nothing. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to rehook up your negative battery cable and then push the parking brake and it will wind the piston into where it's supposed to be. Might take a second or two because we've wound it all the way out, but it will wind back in and everything will be hunky-dory. Thanks for watching. Okay, so there's the new rotor, and I've cleaned it off with brake cleaner. Just spray on brake cleaner. And I want to line up the hold down pin bolt. Sorry about that, I had to get in your way for a second. And that is the T35, if I could find where I put it. These are not on very tight. Which hole is that in? There it is. Okay. Oh, Lord. I'm going to get my T35 and, T30 and put the bolt in about 5 foot-pounds, like just snug. It just retains the rotor there so it doesn't move around on you. Keep it from flopping in and out. It's not structural. Don't crank it on there. You'll never get it off again. Anyway, back in a sec.